Pumpkaboo appears to be the quintessential Halloween Pokemon, but is it really as simple as that? Sit back and let me tell you the tale of Pumpkaboo. So Pumpkaboo, a cute little ghost and grass type Pokemon introduced in Generation 6. The games that finally brought us to Europe and thus gave us a bunch of spooky imagery. I just love the style of these games, especially a lot of the areas that you reach in the latter half of the story. From enchanted fairy forests to haunted bogs and just a very pleasant fall themed route. This is where we can find Pumpkaboo, but despite the fact that X and Y gave us two great ideas for ghost grass type Pokemon, the Hex Maniac Trainer class and a Mega Evolution for Gengar, Kalos is oddly enough the one region that does not have a ghost type specialty trainer. But Pumpkaboo being the embodiment of Halloween spookery more than makes up for that. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think that's the right Pokemon. This one is Pumpkaboo. I mean this one. This one? Okay, so first things first, Pumpkaboo has 4 different forms. Much like pumpkins in real life, Pumpkaboo can come in different sizes: small, average, large, and super. You might just think that this is a cool aesthetic difference like we would see later in the future for every Pokemon. No, these are all distinctly different forms with different stats. All 4 Pumpkaboo might as well be different Pokemon. Okay, they all have the same base stat total, and the only real difference is that as you increase in size, Pumpkaboo gains 5 points in HP and loses 5 in speed. But that's enough to make this Pokemon extremely unique. Also, those stat differences are much more dramatic when it evolves into Gorgeist, so there's even more of a difference between small and super. But I think this is a great idea for a Pokemon because it gives the feeling of going to a pumpkin patch and picking out just the right one to bring home. The fact that its signature move is called Trick or Treat really just ties it all together. And while this is such a cool idea for a move with some amazing animation, I kind of wish it was a little better. I mean, it causes the target to become a ghost type and can make for some interesting shenanigans, but we're getting to the point where any Pokemon is just able to change its type on the fly. I kind of wish Trick or Treat was just a simple move that did damage, or maybe it could have had a better status effect. But while its battle prowess and cute as heck design make it seem like a harmless little gore, the Pokédex starts to add some sinister stories. The pumpkin body is inhabited by a spirit trapped in this world. As the sun sets, it becomes restless and active. It is said to carry wandering spirits to the place where they belong so they can move on. So at first it doesn't sound all that bad. While the first entry might be creepy, the second one gives the impression that Pumpkaboo is serving as a guide for the spirits inside them. This all does tie into the origins of the jack-o'-lantern that Pumpkaboo is based off of. The story comes from Irish folklore where a guy called Stingy Jack cons the devil out of claiming his soul. However, when he dies, he can't get into heaven either, so with nowhere to go, his spirit wanders the earth, using a hollowed out turnip as a lantern inside which burns an everlasting coal. The name Jack of the Lantern was eventually shortened to Jack-o'-lantern. Folklore stories and themes of an eternally wandering soul with a lantern have been around for a while. This story is even similar to that of Will of the Wisp, which, you guessed it, is the origin of the term will-o-wisp. But the point is that Pumpkaboo appears to be like the wholesome version of this, a cute little jack-o'-lantern that serves as a vessel for the lost. That is until Pokemon Sword and Shield gave each size a unique Pokédex entry across both games. That is 8 different entries for a single Pokemon in a single generation. Okay, they're all mostly the same. The average size is the least like the others, where it's mentioned that the light coming from the holes can hypnotize and control people and Pokemon. Why would Pumpkaboo need to do that? And then the entries for the different sizes mostly detail how their size correlates to either the number of lost souls in the area they live in, or the types of souls that they prefer, with the small size preferring the souls of, children. Yep, dead kids. This is definitely a ghost Pokemon. While still not particularly sinister, it's weird that Pumpkaboo is stated to have a preference for the type of spirit that it carries. Of course, this could all just be made up, meant as spooky flavor for the Pokédex, because we do see similar things said about other ghost Pokemon which are constantly brought into question, as we never really see much of this reflected in the games. Unless you want to count all the ghosts that we see in the animation for Trick or Treat, because what's the deal with that? Though this is all reiterated on a Japanese-only Pokemon website which is set in the world of Pokemon, hosted by a Hex Maniac if that's worth anything. But that just makes it even scarier because when it evolves into Gorgeist, the Pokédex entry reads more like a horror story. Singing in eerie voices, they wander town streets on the night of a new moon. Anyone who hears their song is cursed. It enwraps its prey in hair-like arms. It sings joyfully as it observes the suffering of its prey. What? Yes, many other Pokemon have been mentioned as having prey in the Pokédex, but what exactly is Gorgeist's prey supposed to be? Well, it's in Pokemon Sword and Shield where we once again get a clearer picture. In the darkness of a new moon night, Gorgeist will come knocking. Whoever answers the door will be swept off to the afterlife. Ah, so humans are the prey. Who, need I remind you, are said to suffer. Yeah, this is a really cute Pokemon, but it has some of the creepiest lore I've ever read. As usual, different sizes of Gorgeist have their preferences, but don't worry, supersized Gorgeist aren't picky. They will forcefully drag anyone off to the afterlife. This Pokemon is insane, and it's kind of weird that it basically does a 180, going from the cute little spirit guide to the creepy monster stalking you at night. With a Pokemon like Dusknoir, there was always the ambiguity of whether it was a guide to the afterlife or if it sent people there itself. But when it comes to Gorgeist, nope, no ambiguity. But I also think Gorgeist's design is great. It still looks like a natural progression from Pumpkaboo, still keeping a lot of the characteristics that made it cute. But now it's slender and has long arms that look a bit unsettling. It isn't even surprising to look at this Pokemon and think that it could easily turn on a dime and terrorize you. These Pokemon are absolutely terrifying, and I'm surprised they don't get too much talk. Then again, I don't think there's a lot of demand for creepy Pokédex entries or things of the sort nowadays, so maybe Pumpkaboo and Gorgeist were just kind of skipped over during Generation 8. It's a shame because I love the idea of a jack-o'-lantern Pokemon because it's just one of those ideas that works so well. Pumpkaboo did definitely get its day in the sun through all the Pokemon Halloween merchandise and even in the anime where Jessie used one during the X and Y series. This did also lead into an episode where the characters partake in festivities for a Gorgeist festival, a celebration that is totally not Halloween. It was a pretty fun idea, but the episode gets kind of funky.
I trust our sudden invitation was fine.
But as Halloween in real life draws closer and the fall season has already begun, now is a perfect time to appreciate our pumpkin friend. I have had some good memories with this Pokemon, using Eviolite Pumpkaboo in fun battles against my friends, and helping my brother evolve one into a Gorgeist through trading. Fun and spooky times. But let me know what you all think in the comments, because that has been the tale of Pumpkaboo. Thank you to all of my channel members who continue to support and make these videos possible, especially the great Gators Jackson, Justin R, Mr. Pig Puncher, Phantom Pyro, and Quago. If you would like to get a shout out here as well as access to emotes to use in comments and live streams, you can become a channel member as well today. You can also follow me on Twitter for more spooky memes as we continue throughout the month of October. Anyway, this has been GatorEX, and I'll catch you all later.
Into the haunted void and unleash the powers of Mega Evolution. Pokemon trading card game XY Phantom Forces. In stores now. Each booster pack of 10 cards sold separately. Cards vary by pack.
It's most important to deepen the bond between trainer and Pokémon, right?
I fully realize what she said is true.
But who needs it coming out of her face?